Good evening, everyone. Welcome. We are going to start with item number 3, which deals with general matters. And we are going to start with item 3.01, the flag salute. So I'll ask member Sanchez to go ahead and lead us in the flag salute at this time.
Everyone, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. You may be seated.
Thank you, Board Member Sanchez. We'll make sure we get a certificate for you. Kate, if you can put that down. All right. And now at this time, we go on to item 3.02 to approve, disapprove additions to the agenda. If not, let's go on to item 3.03 to approve, disapprove order of the agenda. If none, then we'll go on to item number 4, oral communications. Members of the public may address the board on any items or any issue within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board or agenda items. Members of the public may also address the board on consent items before the board's consideration of the items. In accordance with board bylaws 9323, individual remarks will be limited to 3 minutes each unless otherwise stipulated. Board president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public comment, depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. No action can be taken on any agenda items at this time. Questions may be referred to the administration or put on a future agenda. And so with that, we go to item 4.01, which deals with oral communication. I don't think we have anybody. So we have no one here to address this tonight under 4.01. Let's go on to item number 5, action item. We go first of all to item 5.01, resolutions to identify budget reductions needed for the 2025, 26, and 2026, 27, and require that list be included in the first interim resolution. So I'll turn that over to the superintendent to address this item.
Yes, thank you, Board President. In connection with the Education Code Section 42127, the Santa Clara County Superintendent of Schools has conditionally approved the Franklin-McKinley School District 24-25 adopted budget due to the magnitude of the reductions needed to balance the budget. The reductions include a $22.9 million reduction that was there at the time of the budget adoption in June. It is now reduced to 20.1. In 2025-26, an additional $4 million reduction in fiscal year 2026-27. The following conditions must be met before October 8th, 2024. So we bring to you forward the resolution that is required and the identification of the potential reduction in expenditures that would allow the district to meet the budget reduction in our budget, and also that by the December 16th, when we submit the first interim, that the details and timeline of the school closures be included as part of the reporting in our first interim report. So I bring this for your approval and open to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Superintendent. Board members, so you had the resolution before you, and did you want to ask a question at this time of the superintendent regarding these actions this evening?
Board President, if
Yes,
I could also add, as a part of this, we've been assigned a consultant to work with the administration and ensuring that we are keeping the county apprised of the actions that we'll be taking and the timelines, and ensuring that we can meet the necessary cuts. And so I'd like to bring forward Dr. Simmering to say a few words, and then I will open up for questions.
Board members, thank you very much, Mr. President, Mr. Superintendent Cruz. My name is Donald Zimmering. The best way to describe myself is I'm a retired and recovering school superintendent. Done a fair amount of work for Santa Clara County Office of Education. I serve as a consultant. And first of all, the fact that you serve this community and these children, and my hat's off to you. This has got to be one of the most thankless jobs on a good day. And right now it's a really hard one. I'm very, very keenly aware of you don't want me here. Your staff doesn't want me here. I don't want to say I don't want to be here. I enjoy coming and helping the school district, and that's my goal. And part of what I have to look at is as you go through this process, it's so easy to fall into the mode of these are aspirational goals. And my job has to be to make them realistic goals. And that's how I work with your superintendent and staff to try to make those two things combine. They should be both aspirational, realistic. You have a huge, huge challenge ahead of you. I know very few districts and very few boards that would be willing to take this on and say, we're here to protect kids. And I know you're doing that. So I'm honestly here to help. And at times that may not look that way if I start to question or deeper understanding of some of what has been proposed. But the goal at the end of the day is always to make sure that they stay solvent and that you stay to serve the children in the community. Be happy to respond to any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons it is, right?
Zimmering, yes.
Zimmer. Yeah.
Zimmering.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Zimmer. Board members, do you have questions right now? No questions at all? Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you
Mr.
very
President.
much. Appreciate that. Board members, do you have any questions of the superintendent at this time? Nope. None over here, none over there. Okay.
Mr. Board President, if I
Yes,
could just
go ahead.
point the public and the board to a section of the board memo that indicates if the county determines that the district has not met its obligations under this, then it would trigger a designation of lack of going concern that then would assign a fiscal advisor that would come in essence, override the authority of the governing board. So I point that out just to make sure that the public and everybody is aware of the concern and the severity of what the district is facing in terms of its budget, so that we can stay the course and make sure that we're going to remain a solvent district and continue to serve our students in the future years.
Yeah, thank you, Superintendent. Any comments, board members, that you may have at this time? No comments at all? Okay, Mr. Rodriguez, other board members? Well, I just want to say that it's,
Well,
yes,
I
go
want to
ahead.
say, and I think it's already been stated, but this is not we're not pleased about what we're facing. And so I think we as a board, we're in a somber mood because this is decisions we don't like to face, to consider. I think that's why we've been briefed in the closed session, but we think we're pretty in a somber mood about how we go forward with this.
Thank you, Board Member Cooper. Any other comments, board members?
I'd
Well,
like to move that we adopt resolution number 2024-38.
Second.
Okay, so we have a first and a second to adopt action item 5.01, resolutions to identify budget reductions needed for 2025-2026 and 2026-27 and require that list be included in the first interim resolution. Any other comments, board members? For the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that motion passes. Okay, this time let's go on to item 5.02, School Consolidation Advisory Committee applicants. So we've gotten a list of applicants who will be on this committee. Superintendent, do you want to address that also?
Yes, so as approved on September 10th, the board authorized the district to put together a school consolidation advisory committee. Applications were distributed, made available. through the various means of communication, and with the deadline of the 26th. So we received a total of 31 applications by the deadline. We received a few more after the deadline and some that were incomplete. The breakdown of the applications were that we got 16 application from parents, 1 from a resident, 9 from FMEA staff, certificated bargaining unit, 3 from our classified bargaining unit, and 2 from our management staff. We had recommended that the committee be composed of 16 parents or residents that would represent each of the schools, that we would have 2 representatives of the certificated and 2 representatives of the classified units, and that we would have 2 from management, and that the executive cabinet superintendent and the facilitator would not be part of the committee, but rather a resource to the committee. In looking at the applications, we bring forward to you the composition of the committee that would be composed of the parents that are, if you go to the application list or document, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 staff. 9 parents. 2 of them that are asterisk because they also are staff. I wanted to make sure that it was clear, but they do have children in our schools at this moment. And we went ahead and prioritized parents that were representing the different schools. And then when they did have multiple applications from the same school, if they had multiple students, things of that nature. And so those are the ones that we're recommending to be part of the committee. We did have 3 classified staff that applied. So rather than exclude 1, kept the 3 and added for parity 3 of the FMEA certificated staff as well. Schools that were not represented by parents so as to not have too many representatives from any individual school. And so then the 2 administrators that submitted their application, they're being forward as well. So that is the process in which we went through and making the recommendation to the board of who to appoint to the committee. I'm open to any questions.
Questions, board members? For the superintendent this time?
I just have a comment.
Yes, Board Member Rodriguez.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment. I think it's concerning that we only have 2 Vietnamese parents in the school district on this committee. And I don't think that's representing the Vietnamese student population in our school district. So I don't know if there's a resolution on this or what we could do about this. And I know that maybe there weren't enough applicants from the Vietnamese community. However, it's still concerning. And if a decision is made after the fact, and we have a room full of Vietnamese residents who are concerned about a school in their neighborhood being closed, I don't know how we could respond to that.
President,
Yes.
I'm glad you noticed that because I caught the same thing. That's a very good observation. Thank you, Trustee Broderick. But yeah, I saw that it was a red flag also because it is 38% of our population. So I think that their voice should be heard, but I don't know how we're going to go about that anymore from that.
So for pure transparencies, I included everybody that applied. So you can see that there were no other applicants of Vietnamese background that applied. And so we did not exclude them from that standpoint. So there are no other parents that could have been added to it that would be more complementary of the ethnic background. That's the question.
That wasn't the question. It was not a question at all. It was a concern. Now, what we could do is we could approve this advisory committee as a board this evening and maybe do some more outreach in the Vietnamese community and add a few more Vietnamese resident or parents or residents who might be interested in the community. I just don't think our outreach was good enough for the Vietnamese community.
Well, and we're concerned about DEI. We're trying to get everybody's voice and make sure that everybody has the equity. We like throwing out these words, but then this list is not, it's not representative of DEI and equitable. So I just want to make sure that we're sending out the right message, because as Trustee Rodriguez brought up, when we start talking about close and we have possible closures in schools that have a large population of Vietnamese in their neighborhoods, how would they feel? I think we should make every effort to reach out to that community to get more. I agree with Trustee Rodriguez. Thank you.
So I would be open to any suggestions you may have. I will tell you that all communications were provided to the community at large, both in Spanish, Vietnamese, and English. We asked principals to share that at every opportunity they had with parent meetings. It was posted on our website. It was posted on our social media numerous different times. So I'm not sure what else could have been done to solicit more Vietnamese representation. And my concern, and I agree that with the suggestion that if at a later time others were to apply, it doesn't prevent the board from appointing them, and then they could join the committee as it goes. But there will be a point where they will be at a disadvantage because of the materials and things, the discussion that they will not be part of if it gets too far into the process.
Okay, so here's a marketing fact. This is based on my profession. Hispanics tend to use the internet and social media more than other demographics. The Vietnamese uses the radio more than the Hispanics. If we didn't do any radio advertising of this, maybe that's where the Vietnamese community missed some of the announcements on this. I know that we did everything we could. We had all three. It was beautiful. I mean, it was great. It was nice. However, based on the number of representatives on the committee, it doesn't seem like maybe it reached some of the Vietnamese residents or the parents. I don't know what more we could have done at the school site level, because we probably sent it out through our communication means through the district. And I saw the communications and they were well done. They were very well done. I'm just thinking that maybe we could do a little bit more effort to increase the Vietnamese representation on this committee.
I don't know how we can make a motion. I don't know how we'll do this, but I agree that I think we should go forward with what we have and leave it open for if Vietnamese parents or people become involved in the process, we can encourage them then to, hey, would you like to be part of this committee? And we can allow them in or allow them to apply. So I think we should make a resolution that we can leave that door open for future applicants to apply, hoping that we can get more Vietnamese from the neighborhoods to be part of this discussion.
So if I can make a proposal, if we can approve this resolution or the appointees right now with the amendment that we open up 2 more seats to the committee reserved for parents or residents of the Vietnamese community, and we give them a deadline of October 10th to submit applications for 2 seats. Being that our first meeting is on October 17th, we still have to approve, right, the recommended additional 2 members also. Would that be possible?
I would recommend 4 more seats, because that pretty much balances out the demographics of our school district. That would be 6 Vietnamese.
Would it matter to the board that they would be from schools that are not already represented on the list, or it doesn't really matter?
Well, I think, excuse me, okay, we had this discussion in the last board meeting. I thought we were just going to talk about residents. We were really sticking to that point. They're going to be residents of our district. So I don't think, it would be ideal to have them from the neighborhood school that they're considering or possibly considered, but I think we left it at just the resident of our FMSD. I think that was the requirement that we all agreed to last time. I would leave it up to just,
It was that there were residents that would be considered in the same way of a parent. It was not that we would have multiple representatives from each school. The number and identified by representing the school was not what was discussed. It was whether we would include residents that did not have children in our schools at that moment.
Well, okay, so because of the need to have representation from the Vietnamese community, we might want to just overlook if it's duplicating a school. Just if we find a Vietnamese parent or a resident that would like to serve on the committee to fill if supposedly if it's 4 seats or whatever number of seats, then let's bring them all in just to have the representation and to send the right message out to the community that we are reaching out to everybody. I mean, unfortunately, if we doubled up on some of these schools, it may imbalance some of the representation, but I think that the need for Vietnamese representation is greater than that.
and I believe that it was the goal. It was the goal and the hope that we get 2 from every school. I think that was our, you're trying, I think we're shooting to try to get 2 parents from each school to represent would be the ideal. Although I don't know if that appears to be that way. If it turned out to be that way too.
No, the goal was always to have 1 representative from each school for a total of 16 with the other complement of the other groups.
Okay.
It was never the intent to have 2 parents from each.
But we have 3 parents from Bridges.
Those are not the ones being recommended. The ones at the bottom, so the ones that are being highlighted that are listed in the board agenda are the ones that are being recommended only. The ones at the bottom, again, they either were duplicated, schools already represented, and the parents from Bridges did not complete the total application even after we reached out to them. So we didn't recommend them to be part of the committee.
Okay,
You
then we
can-
don't have anybody representing Stonegate. Right?
So you have teachers that are.
I'm talking about a parent or a resident. We have nobody representing Stonegate, correct?
That is correct.
For example.
Yes. Not all the schools had applicants. That is correct.
Well, that's a concern. And I think that that's a concern in addition to being, Stonegate is in a high Vietnamese residential area. And so not only we're not having a representative at all from Stonegate, we're not even having, we're not having a Vietnamese parent or resident. So, I don't know. I don't know.
Point of clarification. If I heard correctly, we can go ahead and approve the list that we have while also voting in up to 4. Is that accurate?
Or Vietnamese participants.
Okay. So if we can do that, then we can, I would encourage us to do additional outreach to the Vietnamese community. And I think to your point, board member, is that we try to see where we can get representation from school that is not represented. I think we all are in agreement to fill those 4 seats for representation.
And I agree that because we talked about it just extending this application another week. So, but then we still have the February, March deadlines quickly approaching. So they've got to start looking at and the committee.
I would recommend having the applications for the 4 additional seats due by October 10th. That way they bring the recommendations on our 15th board meeting. That way we can either confirm or not confirm those 4 recommendations. And because our first meeting is on October 17th, so we'll be meeting that deadline, that timeline. Would that be possible to have an application deadline of October 10th? And then we can confirm those 4 members on October 15th?
We would.
When is our first board meeting in October? So the board would have to approve an
Okay.
additional, so we would need to have another special board meeting. But I think it's,
Or I think what I heard you say, Trustee Rodriguez, is that as long as they meet that they're a parent and they would be of Vietnamese background, that you would be okay just appointing them if we got 4 applicants.
if the board's fine, I would be comfortable with that. Or
I just wouldn't want to
absolutely,
slow down the process and not have
Absolutely.
an extra meeting.
absolutely.
And I don't see a need to have a date. Sorry. If anywhere along the process, more find out and come along and say, oh, can I have my voice in this and apply? I think their voices matter. Of course, we talked about the last board meeting that they can still attend and still get their voice without being members of the committee. I
Mhm.
got that,
But it's not the same.
but it's not the same. You're right.
So
Superintendent, I was wondering if maybe, and I don't want to impose any more duties, responsibilities on the principals and so on, but in the schools with the larger Vietnamese population, that we have our principals do an extra effort to bring
What I
one
can,
more Vietnamese parent to the
what I
group.
can tell you, Board President, is that they have been actively. I've spoken to them several times, and they did. And actually, we had I think only 2 or 3 parent applicants at the beginning of the week before it was due. I made a special outreach to the principals to continue to do the outreach to their parents. And it was through that outreach that we got the number that we got by the deadline.
Mhm.
So I can tell you that they did everything they could to solicit parent applications. We can certainly continue. That's not a question. I just, again, if we don't, I don't want to slow the process or somewhat say that the process isn't fair if at the end we don't get the representation that you are seeking, because I think everybody in our community has had the same opportunity, the same access, and if they have felt that they wanted to be part of that, they had every opportunity to submit an application. But I understand your concern, and we can certainly continue to do outreach and see if we can get any more.
okay, we
representation.
definitely need a parent from Dahl and Stonegate. And those are high Vietnamese residential areas. So I can see 2 right there, Dahl and Stonegate. So maybe we can even go down to the teacher level. Maybe if they know some parents that are Vietnamese, to maybe ask if they would be willing to serve on the committee. Obviously, we have to take into account their jobs, every other responsibilities they have, but I think we really need to push a little bit again to recruit some parents or residents in Dahl, in the Dahl boundaries and the Stonegate boundaries.
So just for point of clarification, we did get an application from a parent from Dahl. It was after the deadline. The parent is not of Vietnamese descent. And so the question is, if we are opening that, and it's about also some representation of the schools, then I would say then for fairness, then we would extend that opportunity to this parent that was not part of the list because, again, it came after the deadline.
Well, then we should, I'll leave it up to you, but we do need some Vietnamese representation. So I
agree.
If the applicant for Dahl happens to be Hispanic, then the number of Hispanics on the committee is very high. It's almost overwhelmingly majority. So I think that although, we're a high Hispanic area, the Vietnamese community is not being represented.
I just bring that up because in terms of process and fairness and what, if we have 3 applications here that I did not add to this because they came after the deadline. So if we are now not holding the applicants to the deadline, then we would have to consider these 3 that were already submitted the day after the deadline. I'm just,
I would like to go ahead, and I agree with you, Trustee Sanchez. I think we should make the motion to proceed with what we have. And then, but I don't think that we should set a date. I think we should leave it at options, or the board can consider future applicants
Mhm.
as they come in, with the understanding we'll try to get more push for a certain populace of people, and then we can try that. But I agree that, hey, Superintendent Cruz, he did make every effort to reach all the different communities, and so it is what it is. I'm unfortunate when we get to the decision making, and the decisions are going to be made by the committee with us putting a stamp on approval. That was the decision of the committee, and everybody by that time will have had the opportunity to have a voice. So I understand we're trying to be fair to everybody, to encourage everybody to apply. But if it works out this way, so I think we should make the motion to stay with this, go forward with this list, and make it available, the options open for anybody to apply and to be considered specially without a date.
the only concern I would have is if you leave it open, what would prevent a parent from coming in and asking to be added to the committee, close to the end of the process, and would that be acceptable? And so I think beyond the first meeting, I would say that that's what the committee needs to be, and that's who we would be charging them with this decision, because
I
they would
agree.
not have access to that information.
I agree, but I think everybody's voice matters. And if people just find out about it, or maybe they get riled up about something and they want their voice heard. But I
It
understand.
would be heard because the meetings will be open. They would still be part of coming and making public comment, but not part of the deliberation and recommendation to the board. Public will also have access to the board directly to make their voices heard at the public hearing and at the time that the decision is made by the board. So that doesn't preclude them from having a voice. It is just in terms of who will go through the process, have the information, and be able to make the recommendation to the board. I think it needs to be those that are committed to the meetings from the beginning to the end, and then everybody has a voice at different parts of the process.
I agree. And again, I'll agree with Trustee Sanchez. I still think we should go with what we have and leave that option open for future applicants with special consideration by the board.
With the deadline of October the 10th, which is what you were suggesting as well, right?
Second.
Yeah, just so, I mean, the first meeting is October 17th.
Right,
So we're on
maybe-
the tight deadline. So I was thinking October the 10th, but then
Or
would that require us to do another special meeting
Mhm.
on the 15th to confirm those four recommendations.
what day is October 10th?
It's a Thursday.
So-
It wouldn't require another board meeting if the board were comfortable that if they met the same criteria as those that are appointed,
Mhm.
as long as they were from a Vietnamese background, that they would be appointed to the committee, then it doesn't have to come to the board for that purpose.
Right.
However, if you want to have a special board meeting on the 15th,
No, we don't
schedule
need,
that.
we don't need a special board meeting. We can just, so if we move to approve the list with the amendment that we open up applications once again for 4 more board members till the 10th, and empower the superintendent to make the decision on the appointments.
And in terms of the four new,
Could they be Vietnamese and or representatives from those schools that you mentioned? Because we don't have any from those schools.
I don't want to put that in the motion, but I think that the superintendent understands that that's our focus.
They meet.
That should be our focus,
correct.
because if we do that,
And if we can get both, that'd be best of all worlds, right?
Right.
Vietnamese parents or residents from Stonegate and
Correct.
all.
So in that
I think
motion,
we definitely need that.
if that's the motion, I would also recommend, because we did get these 3 late applications, that we include Joanna Kuhn, who is a
no, you
parent.
just make that decision. You just make that decision. If you want to make them part of the four, that's
No,
fine.
but they're not from Vietnamese background. That's why I'm bringing them forward. And so, but and let me say why I would recommend that. Not only because we are now extending the deadline, but these are also parents that are representing schools that are already not represented by the current list. So, Ms. Kuhn is a parent of students at Shirakawa who is currently not represented by any parent on the list.
Let's just include them in the list
Let's
then.
include them
And
in.
then the one from
Let's just
Gulf.
include them in the list.
And
So-
Superintendent Cruz, I'd have a question for you. It's just, I thought, I want to make sure that we're not, when we start saying we need this many of this ethnicity and this many of this, I think, are we getting into a legal? I want to make sure that we're not setting ourselves up for litigation or possible litigation when we start. I know if we hired that, we might get in trouble, but we're selecting a committee based on that too. So I don't know. Is that something where we might need legal counsel on? Because I don't want to get us in trouble.
I agree with you, and I was going to, you can go ahead and make the motion, and I will check with legal counsel, and if that is problematic, and then we can go ahead and suggest a special board meeting where this would be then resolved.
All right. Thank you.
However, we are obligated to represent the district demographics. So,
Mhm.
I mean, we do that with
That's
with
legal.
our
Well,
we do that with our
well,
charter.
that's what legal have to tell us.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
we've already discussed.
yeah, but I think to Trustee Cooper's point is when we arbitrarily make a decision that only these
Right.
seats would be filled by those of Vietnamese background.
Right. That's why I
it
didn't put
can't.
it in the motion. I didn't want that being in the motion. We're already past that. Yeah, we're not gonna. We already know. You already know what I feel,
Mhm.
and other board members feel regarding the demographics. So we can just go from there and make an effort to, just like we do in recruiting, and just like we encourage our charter schools to recruit when they recruit students as well, to represent the district population as well. So, so we can do that.
Any more discussion? If not, I'll need a motion a second on item 5.02.
So I move to approve the recommended members of the School Consolidation Advisory Committee, along with the 3 that were late, or 2 that were late applicants, and also amend the list to accept additional applicants up till October the 11th, which is Friday. And empower the superintendent to make a decision on those appointments.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion a second on item 5.02. Any more discussion? If not, we'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion passes. And I think we go to adjournment now. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, so now we go number 6, adjournment. So I'll need a motion a second for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion a second for adjournment. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes, so we are adjourned at this time.